I know which videos I want to make, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to do first. This is going to be a bit random. It's between two, and I'm making my decision. All right, I made my decision. I'm gonna do the porn video first. And when I say that, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm gonna make a sex tape or anything. This isn't a sex tape, no. I mean, this is going to be a video talking about how I undid my porn addiction. I'm gonna do a porn video. That is not a great start. But no, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about how I undid my porn addiction for good as well. But before I talk about how I undid it, we've got to talk about how I actually got to a point where I believe it was an addiction to begin with. So let's start off with that. I believe it started when I was 12. I was in middle school at the time, anywhere from year 6 to year 7. For those that don't know, middle school was year 1 to year 4, that's primary. Year 5 to year 8 is middle school, and then year 9 to year 11 is high school or upper school, or secondary, whatever you want to call it. This 3-tier system, as far as I'm aware, is a dying breed over here in the UK, but I think that's how it's done over in America. I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but over here, for sure, it's a dying breed. But yeah, this is when it started, and it went from 12 to 16 predominantly. So let's go to when I was 12. How did it start? I remember it starting when I was in middle school, as I said, and I don't know how I came across it. It could have been a friend or friends saying, oh, look at this, this is so funny, when in reality it's a porn video. Or perhaps I stumbled across it. I don't really know, to be honest with you. Seeing as that was 8 years ago, in my opinion, my memory of how it started is justifiably blurry. I was a kid, man, come on. But anyway, yeah, it started when I was around 12. There are a whole load of porn stars I remember watching, but I purposefully am not going to name any, or any sorts of people that I'm going to talk about later on in the video, because I think it'd be rather unfair to. I believe this is the case. I believe it's unfair. It would be unfair if I did, because there may be people who have come here and they're looking for information as to how they can undo their porn addiction, and via looking for information as to information about the topic and how to do it. This actually made me think of NoFap, in fact, which I may talk about later on in the video, but I'm not going to now, because right now it's all about the backstory. At 12, I wasn't really doing much. I was in middle school, just about to take my SATs in set 3 maths. I remember my overweight teacher. She was actually all right. She was pretty playful. I don't mean the nonce sort of playful or anything like that. No, I mean, she was cool to be around. For a teacher anyway. Yeah, she seemed okay from my memory. I remember her joking around with us, and maybe with me in particular. But anything else, middle school, anything else that was worth remembering? I mean, I did fancy this one girl in middle school, but I don't think it had anything to do with the porn addiction, just like how what I just said earlier had nothing to do with it. I wasn't looking at that maths teacher thinking, wow. I certainly did with one teacher in particular, but that was when I was even younger. In fact, year 5, around about 9 or 10. That genuinely could have been one of the first memories I have where I experienced sexual attraction at like 9 or 10, looking at this lady like, wow. Skinny and curvaceous figure. That's what I was seeing at. That's what I was thinking of at 9 and 10. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. But all I knew was that I was looking. I was looking. That's what I know. I've had this teacher that I'm talking about for a few years, and eventually that went away. I stopped doing that, but in the very early stages when I was in middle school, like year 5, it was like, whoa. Whoa. But again, I don't think that had anything to do with the porn addiction, though. It really could have, yeah, I really could have either just stumbled across it or got a text message on social media from one of my friends, and I therefore went on it that way. But now I've said that a few times. Now let's progress. How did I feel when talking about it? When watching. I felt shame. Every time I came off, I eventually started feeling shame, and I could notice that feeling of shame more and more as I got older, especially when I was around 16 and got closer to and was nearing the time I decided to stop watching porn for good. At 12 though, I don't really remember feeling any shame doing it. I didn't really know what was going on, and all I just knew is that it was like I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Extremely stimulating. Not only through eyes, but every time I'd watch it, my dick would get hard. And for some context, I come from a Muslim background, and we've been conditioned to believe that masturbation's forbidden. When I was being told this, not only by my parents, but also when looking at the Quran, or looking at things on the internet about Islam, I took that very literally. Is masturbation forbidden? No. No, it's not. You know, it's not like you're going to be it's not like you're going to be under this extreme major punishment. Talking about religiously, like you're going to be smitten or struck by lightning if it's going to happen or something like that. No, I really don't think it is. Whatever you believe, it's up to you, but I'm not going to hold that stigma against masturbation. I think this is important because it's a part of how I'd watch the videos. I'd never wank. I'd never wank, and I haven't wanked in my life. I've touched my stick, but I'd never do it. I'd never masturbate, because I'd been conditioned to believe that masturbation is forbidden, not only by family, but through what I read. That taboo on masturbation was probably very helpful. It's a sort of conditioning that I don't actually want to get rid of, because it serves me. Although I don't think masturbation is forbidden anymore, that conditioning hasn't left, and I don't want it to leave, because I don't want to be just in a slump, in a rut, taking my hindering myself and not being able to actually progress in life because of masturbating, something that an unwanted habit that I've never actually done before. Hence, I won't do it. I mean, if I'm gonna have sex with a girl, I don't mind being stimulated by her, but I'm not gonna do it myself. I just rather not because of that conditioning. I might change my way of thinking in the future. I may change my way of thinking about it in the future when I'm actually having sex and when I'm sexually active, because I can already predict that that may make things go slower than wanted for the both of us, or for all of us, depending on what I want to do. We'll see. That's what I think about it. We'll see. Let's go back to how I'd watch porn. So when I'd watch, it was literally like I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I don't want to get into very specific details as to, like, for example, the first porn star I watched, or the sorts of videos that I had. No, I remember the sort of videos that I remember, because I think that may genuinely make things worse for people that are watching this video, in terms of perhaps giving them a mental stimulus to be that would make it easier for them to want to go back. So I'm certainly not going to give very specific examples of what I'd watch, or what I watched even, because I think that could make things worse for some people. So I am trying to be at least somewhat careful with what I say. However, I'm not going to try and change up how I'm saying the word porn for this video. That's not happening. I'm not going to try and call it prawn or anything like that. No, porn. It's called porn. P-O-R-N. Anyway, yeah, what I'd watch, I'd literally just look at the screen, and it was like my eyes were glued. My dick would get hard, and I wouldn't wank. I'd just be there with a stiffy, both hands on the phone. Usually I'd be watching in my bedroom, but when I was younger, I genuinely got caught by my mum watching porn one time. And I remember exactly what video I was watching as well. There's some things, I remember what phone I was watching. The fact that I was lying down with my parents whilst watching it, just trying to hide it up, make it look secretive, try and make it look like I actually wasn't watching it, trying to hide what I was watching from them. But eventually, yeah, my mum looked and she caught me watching porn. I don't remember what she did as a punishment, or if she gave me a punishment for it. I don't remember what happened past that point, but I do remember I got caught. I think from that experience onwards, I learned not to do that. So I'd go and I'd watch it in my room. I especially remember during GCSE times when I was around 15 or 16. So I remember one time in particular, I was downstairs in the front room where the monitor was, and I had impulsive thoughts to watch porn. So I had impulsive thoughts to watch porn, and I acted on them. But before I did, in the sense of actually watching the videos, I made sure that no one was looking, or no one could look. and catch me doing it. So I go upstairs to my bedroom and I watched. I don't know how long for, but yeah, I carried on watching, and especially around that age, I started feeling a lot of shame. And I got very specific with the sorts of videos I'd watch as well, which is, it's rather interesting. Oh, I was gonna say which types of porn I'd watch in the early stages and then later on. But again, that genuinely could just make things worse for some people out there, because they'd allow it to, but I'd rather not give that stimulus for them to make it seem like it's even more difficult to not watch porn anymore, even though they want to stop. I think without even realizing it, up until now when I've been talking about it, that would explain why I'd hide, because of the reaction that my mum gave when I got caught watching it. I wanted to keep it a secret. My action showed that I wanted to keep it a secret, but I didn't consciously think of keeping it a secret. Maybe I knew maybe I subconsciously knew somehow that from a very early age, at around 12 or so, I just knew that porn was looked down upon, or maybe I just had a hunch that it was, so I'd hide it from my mum. Oh, not from my mum in particular. I just wouldn't tell anyone I was, especially when I was doing it. Anyone. I wouldn't tell anyone. There are some things, in my opinion, which are just meant to be kept secret. For instance, this channel. But yeah, I got caught, and my mum caught me, and that explains why I past that point started becoming more careful with not getting caught. As I was saying, the older I got, the more shame I experienced. I had no idea what was going on in terms of how my body was reacting and how I felt mentally, or what my emotional thoughts were, or rational thoughts were, or what these things even were at 12. And even when I was 16, I didn't have a clue as to how I could process my emotional and rational thoughts towards things. I didn't even know that that was an option. My apologies. It's rather ironic. The reason why I kept looking around is because I saw a group of what looked like girls over there, and then they've just started walking off the field now in the direction I just looked. It's rather ironic that I'm talking about a porn video and then I'm doing that. But anyway, eventually, as I said, I started feeling more and more shame, and I wanted to do something about it. So I did. Just to make it easier for me, I'm gonna end this clip here so that I have a timestamp as to when I gave context, and then I'll give the timestamp as to how I undid it. All right, I'm gonna end this clip now. cut a long story short, the way how I undid it is I had an extremely strong desire to undo it. Cut a long story short, that's how I did it. I'll go into more detail now, so for someone else it's more understandable as to as to how I went about things. This happened, for some context, this being the time I decided to quit for good, happened on New Year's Eve 2017, when I was 16 years of age. And after watching what I really believe would be the last porn video I'd ever watch, I decided I'm never going to watch porn again. Never. I said it with a lot of emotion, and when I was saying it, it came from a very genuine place. I wasn't watching no fat videos or any videos as related to how you can undo a porn addiction. Me wanting to quit came from within. It came from a genuine place. I was the one that thought that thought for me. Very basically, I didn't go on the internet looking at videos as to how I undid it for me to actually take action. I said it with a lot of emotion, and the emotion was genuine, strong, very strong. And when I said I'll never watch porn again, I meant it. I didn't stick to it, but that desire was extremely strong, and I quit watching porn like the flip of a switch. I'm not expecting, if other people are here watching this video, I absolutely am not by any means guaranteeing that if you do the same thing, it's gonna work for you. And I'm not guaranteeing that even if it does work for you, it's going to be like the flip of a switch for you, like how it was for me. I'm not guaranteeing that, but this is just how I undid it. And you can take what you want from this. You could try it out, see if it works for you, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, great. But if it doesn't, you just know that you have one less way you can fail. And it will build up your character, I think. I believe that it would build up your character because it gives you more of a story. If other people in the future, when you're coming from a place where you undid your porn addiction, and there are people that were in the same or if not similar place that you were, however long ago, you could say, well, I was on YouTube, I watched this video, I tried out what you said, didn't work. I kept on trying, I kept on looking for videos or whatever you did, and eventually what worked for me is X, Y, and Z. So yeah, just to make it very clear, that is what I did, and I'm not guaranteeing that it will work for you, and I'm not guaranteeing that what worked for me is going to work for you exactly the same way, even if it does work. That said, even though what I've just said is how I undid it, I believe that there's one thing I've missed, one major thing that I've missed, and that is something that I have addressed in this video, but I haven't made it clear when talking about how I undid it. And that is understanding that it's a problem. Understanding that it's something that you want to solve. I knew that it was a problem, in my opinion, at the time. I really believed that it was a problem at the time because of all of the shame that I felt after watching it, especially as I was getting older, around the 15 to 16 years of age mark. I really believed that as I was getting older, it was just becoming more and more and more of an issue. Not only because of the shame, but because I was watching it more often as I got older. And I can understand why. I didn't know how to process my emotional thoughts and rational thoughts towards things. I didn't know or have any experience of how to solve things that I believed were worth solving. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't have any experience of it. This thing was one of, if not the very first thing that I solved that meant I had experience in solving things that I considered were worth solving. So I'd say that the first step was understanding that it was an issue, and then the second was making that decision to quit and meaning it, and then after that, taking action. So past this point now that I've addressed that, I'm gonna talk about taking action as to what I did in order to undo it. I must say, I must give myself a pat on the back. I must give myself a pat on the back for this video. Not because of what it's about, but because of how much I've actually been focused in, how much I've focused on the topic without going from one thing to another and another. I think one way that this could be happening, I mean, as in the reason why I've focused so much on this topic without digressing to other topics, is because I've just really been allowing myself to speak without thinking consciously. My story is my story, and I don't really need to think of my story. The only really major time that I've actually consciously thought and used my brain, I'm talking about sub-vocal thoughts, that is, was when I was making the decision as to which video I'm going to make right now. I made my decision and then I got on with it. That said, I've just realized that there's been a cut on my knee. I have no idea how that happened, but hey. But anyway, let's get back to it. So what I said I'd do is I'd talk about taking action, or the actions that I took that meant that I was able to undo the addiction. Firstly, I had other things to do. That's what I'd start off with. I had school, and one of my main focuses in school, without even realizing it, was proving that I'm valuable to this earth through getting what were considered high grades, excellent grades, such as A's. I wanted to get the top of the top, the highest grade possible. And for me, that was a grade 9. I was actually the very first year in which this grading system was being tested out rather than the ATU system. It was slightly still around when I was in school, but yeah, I was the very first year in which I took I was one of the people in the very first year to take the 9-1 style GCSE exams rather than A star to U. Fun fact for you there. And because I wanted to prove my worth, in a sense, I'd have that to focus on. My future. Back then, I really believed that my grades significantly impacted my future a lot more than it does now. A lot more than I do now. I wouldn't use this way of thinking, I wouldn't use this wording, but I think I could have been living life at that age believing if I didn't get high grades, I was going to be a failure in life. I wasn't going to be able to actually make anything of myself. Again, I wouldn't use this wording, but I think that was how I understood the grade system, you could say. That if I don't get high grades, I'm not going to be able to make something of myself, and I'm not going to be able to live like how I'd want to. I'd be a failure at life. I'd have no chance. Or if I did, it would be extremely difficult to be able to actually have a chance in life. So that was the first thing that was already there and had been there for a while. I've been going to school for a while by the point that the porn addiction started. I say the porn addiction started as if I had nothing to do with it, as if it just started by itself. It was me that did it. It was me that caused it, and it was me that eventually believed that it was an addiction and that it was a problem, something that needed to be solved, an issue. I just want to make that very clear. It didn't just come out of nowhere. No pun intended. It didn't just come out of nowhere. I'm gonna take my shoes off. I said I didn't want to make it worse for anyone, and then I make that pun. It genuinely wasn't intended, but again, no pun intended. You gotta have some fun whilst on the journey. You can't be completely serious. Maybe that was another place where I could have improved to help me undo my addiction. Something that I didn't do, but something that I genuinely recommend. To know how to have fun. To know how to have fun in ways that are actually constructive and healthy, rather than doing an unhealthy habit, something especially like that as well. I genuinely apologize for any of you that think, for any of you that have heard this, what I just said before the last clip just ended, and you think, what are you talking about? How do you have the audacity to recommend something which you didn't even do? And for those out there that do think this, and that's not coming from a place where they've just heard what I'm saying and then it's like, yeah, what he said, then I do apologize, because I personally am a sort of person that would, if I'm looking for advice, not only talk to someone that's willing to give it, but talk to someone that's willing to give advice which they have used, rather than them just giving pieces of advice and not actually using that advice themselves. But I really do think that what I've just said will work. Not necessarily completely, but I think it could be one of the things you do that will help you get to a point where you are doing so many other things that your impulsive thoughts have nothing to do with watching porn. Mine don't, and they haven't for a while. Actually, I remember that said though, I now remember recently having thoughts of watching it. Not because I actually wanted to go on the website, but I didn't get the sex talk from my parents, and in my head I was thinking, how else am I going to know how to learn how to have sex or come up with ideas. So I thought of it, but I didn't act on those thoughts. Not only that, but those that way of thinking that I've just spoken about, those sorts of impulsive thoughts weren't strong. I didn't have a strong want to actually go back and watch. Another thing that I didn't do, but that I'd recommend, is to process your emotional thoughts and rational thoughts, to how you watch porn. And I'd actually say, I'd say make videos, make videos just like how I'm making videos. You don't even have to upload them publicly if you don't want to. You don't even have to make videos if you don't want to, honestly. However, I can tell you from experience with other things that making videos and talking about them has not only meant that I've improved my communication skills, but for instance, tone of voice. I now have a varied pitch rather than a monotone voice, which is something I was mocked for especially during A-levels. I absolutely would recommend making videos on YouTube. I can only recommend YouTube because this is the only place I've done it. But other platforms absolutely can work. Just very, very generally speaking, have a place where you can upload all of the thoughts that are on your mind as much as you feel comfortable with. And YouTube's allowed me to do that, both publicly and privately. There's one video I'm thinking of in which I worked through my fearful thoughts towards a skate park, and now I'm fairly close to it and I have no fear towards being here. I'm just here having fun and enjoying myself, and me creating videos about it, especially in the when I was coming from a place where I was feeling fear about being anywhere near it, helped. It helped, and eventually the fear dissipated. And I think you making videos and just explaining your thoughts on the matter will do the same for you. Not in the same way, because that example that I've just given is completely different to porn addiction. In my opinion, I predict, because I don't see how watching porn could come from a place of fear. Who would hold you up at gunpoint or at knife point telling you to watch porn? What would cause people to watch porn out of fear? To watch it out of fear? I'd imagine that some people do it out of fear for their livelihoods. People aren't having enough money come in, and that's the only way that they believe that they can actually make a living. So to me that makes sense, but to watch it out of fear, no. I don't know why that would happen. My bad. What I meant to say was, I don't know why people would do that. But yeah, anyway, going back to it, I would really absolutely recommend creating videos about it. And if you don't feel comfortable with publicly uploading them, although that would help other people, I think that even if you do it privately on YouTube, that'd certainly help out. Speaking about these things aloud can mean that you catch yourself out and believe that some things that you would have thought in your head, now that you've said them out loud, just doesn't make sense. I know that this has happened with me in the past, but I don't have any very specific examples as to when this has happened or what about. I think it's even happened at least once in this video. no, it didn't happen in the way that I've just spoken about, but I made a connection that I don't think I would have otherwise made. And that connection was, to me, it now makes sense as to why it makes more sense as to why I was hiding. I was very secretive with watching porn, because when I was very young, at around 12, my mum caught me when I had the black iPhone 3GS with the silver Apple logo on the back and no selfie camera. That's made me think of Crash Bandicoot because of the phone. That's the sort of games that I play. I think that is important because it's a part, more specifically about the start of the video, because it's a part of what I was doing at that age. It wasn't really, I mean, yeah, I was at school, I was in middle school, and that would be one of the games I play, one of the things I do. And I actually do think that app in particular, now that I think about it, is important to this video indirectly, because in my opinion, playing those sorts of games is an unhealthy habit. And I think that it's an unhealthy habit because me doing that meant I had one out of many outlets to be able to escape reality and not do what I truthfully wanted to do. At that age, that's what I thought I wanted to do. Play Call of Duty all day and work towards getting Prestige Master. I never got there. Never. I never got there. The closest I got was, I think, level 63 Prestige 9 on Call of Duty Ghost, with the blue background, the grey border, the blue background, and if I'm not mistaken, a Viking skull. For those that know Call of Duty Ghost fairly well, I think you know what I'm talking about. But it certainly was Prestige 9, and I think it was level 63. I remember one time I got a quad kill cam, and I had no perks, and I was playing with a Remington RS. I think I just picked it off the ground in the game, and that was the end kill cam. No perks, Remington RS, no attachments, just a quad feed. People are like, oh wow. Yeah, I even remember my gamer tag very vividly. Or gamer tags, in fact. I remember my very old one and the most recent one that I had, even though it's years old. But the way how I think this is relevant is because it was one of the way how I think this is indirectly relevant is because, in my opinion, it was one of the things, I call it a core habit, for example, something that I could build off. It was an unhealthy habit that I built off. Playing games set the tone. Playing games without realizing it to escape reality set the tone to be able to do more unhealthy habits. Then from there, porn addiction. I've had to change the angle now because my phone was starting to overheat. However, we are back creating more content. Very consistent. I'm very consistent, which is pretty important in not only this video, but in every aspect of life. If there is something that, things that you want to do and you want life to go your way, you must be consistent with habits that you want to do. And then therefore, eventually, slowly but surely I should say, gradually, your habits will change, and then eventually, after that, your life situation will change because of the actions that you've taken. The mind's gone blank. I don't really have much else to say. I think everything that was worth saying has been said. It could be one other thing I'd say is it could be more tough for people who aren't in sexual relationships may find it more difficult to not watch porn than people who are. Or people who are in relationships may want to watch porn and then have difficulties no longer watching it, but they want to watch it in the first place because they come up with ideas as to what they could do in the bedroom, or outside of the bedroom rather. I don't know, but I do know what has worked for me and what I did, and more advice that I'd give to my younger self that probably would have helped. But at that age, my strong desire to no longer want to watch porn anymore, and the way how I so seriously thought about no longer watching it, was what allowed me to just stop, literally like the flip of a switch. And I had school to focus on, so it was pretty easy. With that extremely strong desire, it was pretty easy to not do it anymore. Having things that, in your opinion, will help benefit you in the future, something that you're working towards so that your future is bright, is going to help you, or in my opinion at least, I think it would help you with doing what you need to do in order to not only undo the addiction, but to live the life you want, which in my opinion is a lot more important than just undoing porn addiction. And maybe that could be an issue. Maybe just wanting to stop watching porn could be one of the major issues as to why some people may find extreme difficulty in no longer doing it. Perhaps they find extreme difficulty in not doing it because they see that as like the end point at that point in time, by saying, I want to stop watching porn, I want to stop watching porn, I want to stop watching porn, rather than thinking of a much bigger picture and thinking of at least somewhat what their ideal life, very long term, would be like. Knowing what they want long term and seeing undoing the porn addiction as a stepping stone rather as the main thing and the end goal may help with undoing the addiction. Mindset plays a very important part. It mainly is mental. There aren't many physical actions to it. Obviously there's the masturbation, but I mean more specifically, to get onto a pornographic site, it's not difficult. Pick up your phone, go to your bedroom to hide, pick up your phone, and then Pornhub, there you go. Or whatever other sites. I mean, that one in itself that's enough. That's enough. I said I didn't want to make it more difficult for people to I didn't want to make it more difficult to people to watch, and then I name a site. I absolutely am not advertising. I absolutely am not, and I do not condone going on pornographic websites. I absolutely do not condone going on pornographic websites. Again, I absolutely do not condone going on pornographic websites. But I think just hiding, going in the bedroom, going on the phone. You may not even type Pornhub completely or Pornhub completely in one go. You may just type the P first, and then you consider, do I actually want to do this? And then eventually you allow your impulses to take over, and you further act on it, you make that decision to type in the rest of those 7 letters, the rest of the 7 letters that make up that word. There you go, one click away, and wow, it's not nice. Personally, I believe, like, me going onto such websites, or even seeing sexual photos as I have done in the past, because I knew, I did last year on Google Images, yeah, believe it or not. I knew that I'm not going back. I'm not going back. Since the last time I watched, I decided I'm not going back. The last time I watched was the 26th of May 2020. I'm not going back. I decided that I will not, and I went on, I looked at sexual images on Google. I didn't type up like sexy women or anything like that, but thoughts about wanting to transform my physique then led to seeing sexual images, and then from there just looked at more and more and more of them. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, I personally believe that watching such videos and looking at such sexual images on the internet, I didn't only look at them on Google, but I also looked at one in particular I'm thinking of on Reddit. These things, they to me, it's just like I'm being taken advantage of. My sexual needs, my want to have sex, not even as a man, but just as a person, is being taken advantage of by these people who are creating the content. When I think of the word content, I'd like to think of something that can be watched or looked at and is considered valuable. And I actually feel some type of way calling that content, because I'm that against watching and looking at certain images, looking at sexual images, even though I have done in the past. I did last year, and I think I did this year with that Reddit image in particular that I'm thinking of. At least with Reddit, it blurs it out before looking. If you click, if you see it blurred out and you click, that's up to you. You've made that decision. However, that could actually, compared to Google Images, that could make things even worse, because with Google Images, there isn't really any anticipation. However, with Reddit, because it's blurred out, there's more of a sense of anticipation, which may make people consider looking at such things as more of a reward, chemically speaking, in terms of dopamine. It may be considered as more of a reward when looking at it, because of the anticipation factor that's there through having the sexual photo blurred out, and then there's anticipation built because you can't see it clearly, and then you click from there. Maybe not. And I think feeling sexually frustrated can make things worse as well. It really could. Having no partner to fulfill your sexual wants or needs, depending on how you look at it, that may make things more difficult. But for me personally, I don't have a partner. I'm single. And I'm not laughing because I feel lonely or anything like that. It's just it seems like I'm that single. We call it signal. That in itself could be considered a signal. Jeez. Anyway, what was I saying? It could be even more tough when you don't have a partner. However, for me personally, when feeling horny or sexually frustrated rather, I do have quite some energy, and that in some ways could actually be better for me long term than having a partner would, because having that sexual frustration is another form of energy that I have that I can use to my advantage, rather than just allowing that need to take advantage and to just run riot. Me taking advantage of myself, my hardwired needs to have children and reproduce, to pass on my genes, taking advantage. Instead of letting that happen, I can use that energy to create, be able to create something amazing long term, which is what I am doing through all of these videos, and then what I do off camera. I think that's more than enough of a snippet on my thoughts on the matter for now. But I'm not going to end the video here. There's just one small thing that I want to talk about before ending the video, because I really want to get on with making this second video that I'm thinking of, because I really think that this is what's going to allow me to make a significant change that I was talking about in the title of today's plank video, and that is NoFap. Yep, I'm needing to hurry up because I just got a 20% battery warning, and I don't plan to do this at home. NoFap. I wouldn't personally say I'm on NoFap or semen retention. I'm just on I don't fap. I've been conditioned to believe that masturbation is forbidden, because again, I come from a Muslim household, and when hearing such things, I really took it on board, very literally. Masturbation is forbidden equals you don't do it. You do not do it. And yeah, I just took that very literally. So I wouldn't even say I'm on NoFap, and I wouldn't say I'm on semen retention either. I am indirectly, because I am holding in my seed. However, I don't really do this thing. I'm not about it. It's the norm. Not masturbating and not doing semen, not masturbating and holding in my seed. That is the norm for me. And I wouldn't say that I do this. The closest I come to ejaculating, due to having intercourse, is wet dreams. That's the closest I've come to doing that. No pun intended. If you're laughing at these sorts of things when you hear it, and I haven't said the no pun intended part, you may be a bit too young, and this may not be the video for you. However, I can't determine whether you do or don't watch it. That's not up to me. That's your call, and that's your business. I don't really have experience of NoFap. I haven't found it difficult to not masturbate because of that conditioning, and I don't really know much about it. I've certainly watched NoFap videos and semen retention videos, but for me, I just believe that those sorts of semen retention videos and NoFap videos, they are, to me, in my opinion, because of the place I'm coming from, is like the self-improvement equivalent of porn. They're both about sex, except in one you see them having sex, but in the other you see them implying that if you do as told, you're more likely to have sex. For example, I'm talking about those sorts of people saying that you could get, you can increase female, the sexual attraction that females have for you as a man if you go on semen retention. In my opinion, there's an implicit understanding that if you have, if you're considered more sexually attractive to more females than you were in the past, then that means you are more likely to have sex. And although semen retention content creators may not say that, I can obviously see that there is that message behind, in between the lines, that you'll be more likely to have sex if you're considered more attractive. To me, that's, now that I thought about it in that way, it's obvious. And I say that it's like the self-improvement version of porn, because they are taking advantage of the same thing, your sexual, your impulse to pass on your genes, not impulse, sorry, hardwired need to pass on your genes through having sex and through being sexually attractive to females. In order to have sex and pass on your genes, you must first be sexually attractive, be considered sexually attractive by females. Those are my thoughts on NoFap and semen retention. And when I do have sex, and maybe what I consider very often, I may have to purposefully distance myself from females that I'd have sex with. Maybe not. I think that'd be a very sensible idea, especially with the place that I'm coming from. I know that not being around females I'm dating that I'm having sex with, I know from personal experience of me doing these videos, I know that I can just focus on doing what I truthfully want to do and creating something amazing for myself long term, which people can learn from. I know this works. So in the future, if I ever think that I'm having too much sex, and if I think I'm having sex with the wrong people, then I'll eventually, I will distance myself. I know what it's like to be single for a very long time, and I will do what I have to in order to create an amazing future for myself. In order to make something big of myself, I will do what I have to. I won't do it by any means. I won't do things that mean that my pride and my dignity as a person, as a human being, are at stake. But yeah, if I ever think I'm having too much sex, and or with the wrong people, I really believe I'm dating the wrong people, and I can see that they're leading to having sex, and I just think that that's preventing me from creating the future that I really want to, then I know what it's like to be single for a very long time and not to be talking to girls in a sexual way. So I'll do what I have to do. I know what it feels like, and I know that I know what it's like, and I know that it works. But anyway, I think that's it. I will see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed and learned something valuable. See you lot later, man. Do what you need to do to transform your life, lads and lasses. Every single day is the answer. Always create content every single day. That's what's allowed me to get to this point where I've worked through a lot of things. And for people that believe that they have a porn addiction, I'd advise you to do the same with your porn addiction and just talking about it. Maybe not every single day, but having something that you're doing every single day and talking about it when you feel the need to. It will help. I'm telling you from personal experience, in my opinion, I know it works for me. I know it works. So I absolutely would advise other people to do the same. And I really do think it will help. So on that note, maybe you learned something valuable, maybe or you enjoyed it. But yeah, man, I'll see you lot in the next one. Peace. Damn, there's one thing that I've just one very important thing that I've forgot to mention, that Love Dorsey talks about. It's about societal views on men, and I think this would be an amazing video for all of you to watch, and it could really be helpful to you to understand that people could be out there just fucking because they men in particular, they could be just out there fucking to prove their worth, that they are valuable as a person, because they are being told that they aren't valuable to the world because they haven't really found financial success, as she says. I most likely, I think I'll make a I'll send a link. I'll put the link in the description for that video. Yeah, I think that really may help. parenting courses would also help. Understanding that the relationship that you have with your parents and your family, that affects your love life, that will also help. But yeah, I think now I really don't think I have anything else to say, but yeah, I'll see you lot later. Bye.